Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the HBCU Mixtape, which is a production of the Quality Education for Minorities Network, and it's funded by the National Science Foundation. Today, we have a very exciting episode where we are going to talk to the Provost of the University of Virgin Islands. Yes, the University of Virgin Islands is one of the 100 HBCUs. We don't just have HBCUs in the nation, but we also have HBCUs in the U.S. territories in the Caribbean. I had the pleasure of visiting the University of Virgin Islands a couple of times. A beautiful campus, right on the beach. I wish I could be there right now, especially with all the things that's going on here on the mainlands. But today we're going to talk about the research that's going on at UVI. We're going to talk about research more broadly. HBCUs have a long-standing reputation and legacy of focusing on health issues in the Black community. We have three HBCU medical schools. We have Howard University Medical School, Meharry Medical School, and we also have Morehouse School of Medicine. We also have about 25 schools of nursing that are at HBCUs. And the University of Virgin Islands is in the midst of a campaign to raise money for a medical school. So that would be the fourth HBCU medical school. Today, we're going to talk to a very important person for research at the University of Virgin Islands, Dr. Camille McKayle. She is the provost and the vice president of academic affairs. Previously, she served as the dean of the College of Science and Mathematics. She is a mathematician herself. She's currently a PI for the Center for the Advancement of STEM Leadership, which is funded by the National Science Foundation. Dr. McKayle received her BS in mathematics from Bates College and her MS and PhD in mathematics from Lehigh University in Pennsylvania. Her expertise is in mathematics, mathematical education, and grant management, and she is a staunch advocate and supporter of advancing STEM among underrepresented students. She has a deep commitment to education, and the projects that she serves as the principal investigator of really demonstrates her knowledge and her enthusiasm for advancing STEM education, particularly among the Black community. Welcome to the mixtape, Dr. McKayle.
Good day. Great to be here. Thanks for having me. And thanks for highlighting us at the University of the Virgin Islands.
Yeah. And you were born in Jamaica, right?
Yes, I was. I was born and raised in Jamaica. I finished high school in New York, though, go Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a lot of my base is still Jamaican. So it was kind of
Yeah.
a neat thing to be able to come back to the Caribbean, be it the U.S. Caribbean, to really make a difference. So,
Right.
mhm.
When did you find out about HBCUs?
Yeah, so that's something, because I was fairly young when I came. I only had 2 years in high
Mm-hmm.
school, and my parents, all their education was in Jamaica. So that the whole university system in the US was really not necessarily something that we knew in my household. So
Yeah.
I'm late to the game of HBCUs. As you said,
Mm-hmm.
my education was in Maine, no HBCU
Right.
there. And it was small college, small liberal arts college.
Mm-hmm.
And then for graduate school, Lehigh. And I think it was while I was finishing up. I mean, you hear about it, but just the impact, I think, became really, really clear when I was finishing up my PhD in mathematics. One of the few African Americans in the program at Lehigh University at the time. And I went to a math meeting and I was just floored by the warmth of the African American mathematics community within the mathematics community for me. And then I noticed that a lot of people knew, they knew people from, they were undergraduates, and it was something I didn't have. This someone always looking out for you. And I think it was close to getting my PhD that I really recognized that that is that is the HBCU difference, really. Though I had heard about them, and everyone hear about Howard, and you hear about Morehouse and Spelman,
Mhm.
etc. And especially Morehouse for me. I don't know if you know the link between Bates College and Morehouse, but
I have no idea.
Benjamin E. Mays is a Bates graduate, by the way.
Oh,
So we always knew about Morehouse because of Benjamin E. Mays
yeah, that's fascinating. I never knew that. So Bates College
in Maine.
in Maine has a relationship with Morehouse College.
Yes, or we always know, and it's just about every Morehouse man that I've met. If I say
Mhm.
Bates, I go, Benjamin E. Mays.
I learn a little something new every time we do one of these mixtapes. That's a fascinating history. So I'm going to have you tell us about the University of Virgin Islands. But before we do that, we do have a warm-up question because this is the mixtape, and this series was inspired by the audacity of hip hop artists to deliver their music and their products straight to the street when they were rejected by the major publishing companies, or not publishing companies, that's us, but the record companies. So our warm-up question is, who is your favorite rapper? Right?
I think
Okay.
I kind of dropped out of music with kids. I never picked it back up except for to dance, when
Yeah.
I go out. So I hear it. Oh, geez, I should have been prepared for this question, huh? I like Common. I like his,
Okay.
his stuff because it's really deep.
Yeah.
And I also appreciate the fact that he's able to just do it, to just like, and I also like the when I listen, so I don't know names, right?
Mhm.
But when I listen and I see people freestyling,
Yeah.
I like the whole freestyle, that whole genre of just whatever it is, just pick it up and go is fascinating to me. And I think it's fascinating because of um, the creativity that is, and the quickness.
How did University of Virgin Islands become one of the HBCUs, and what else makes it unique?
We are a young HBCU, 1962, I believe.
Okay.
I need to check that. But so we're fairly young. But when I look at the history of HBCUs and what it meant for people, what HBCUs meant historically, was a place for persons who might at that point not have had a choice of where to go. And I think that the University of Virgin Islands serves that as well. When it started here, we are the only institution of higher education in the Virgin Islands. And so for many Virgin Islanders, if not for the University of the Virgin Islands, they would not have the opportunity to attend a 2-year or a 4-year institution. So we are really always very proud to say we are the only HBCU outside of the continental United States. Actually, the only one really that's not part of the 50 states. So
Yeah.
we're proud of that. We're also a land grant institution. We just started a new school of agriculture and hired a new dean. And so if I didn't put that in there, he would say,
Mm.
don't forget, we are also land grant. So we're HBCU and a land grant institution.
Well, soon you'll have to get that Sea Grant designation too, since you're right on the water, right?
Yes, so we have been designated. I think we have Sea Grant. We did it with South Carolina at first in
Okay.
terms of their funding, but we have
Mhm.
some Sea Grant funds as well. We're, I know I'm rattling off all these things that we are. The Virgin Islands is an EPSCoR. Now it's established program to stimulate competitive research. So we're
Mhm.
an EPSCoR jurisdiction. It used to be state, but with Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, et cetera, they can't say states anymore. So, and we also have NASA EPSCoR funding. So we are truly part of the landscape of higher education um, in the United States, and we're proud of that. We strive for that, and we strive to serve the Virgin Islands as well.
Do you all have any students who come from the 50 states?
Yeah, yes, we do. We have them that come just generally
Hmm.
because they want to go somewhere else. Our marine science program pretty much attracts students from all over. We've had students come here from Alaska. We've also had students come as part of our National Student Exchange program. So they come and spend maybe a semester or a year, and then they go away. I've met some who came for a semester and ended up staying to graduate. So we have students from all over. Our athletics program also gets students from the mainland, from South America, and we have a lot of students from the surrounding Caribbean islands. So we are small, roughly 2,000 students, but and we might not appear at first brush to be diverse, but we are extremely diverse. The other thing to note, it is a census year, so I'll get into the census types of things. Most of the people who live in the Virgin Islands were not born in the Virgin Islands. More than 50% of the people who live here weren't born here. So even though many of our students come from the Virgin Islands, their roots are elsewhere. So it just adds to the diversity of the university.
Tell me about some of the research that's going on there. As provost, I know that you are familiar with some of the major awards and some of the publications.
Mhm.
So, what's some of the research that excites you that's going on at UVI?
But part of what we do really well is we do research that makes sense for the Virgin Islands. We have some others too, but I'll start there. So marine sciences, our research in the marine science area is, I would say, internationally known. We do a lot of research on coral diseases, coral reef. And for those of you that might think of coral reef just as a nice place to go snorkeling, it's also a nice place for fish, and they protect the little fish. So without the coral reef, if you don't protect the little fish and the mangroves, then you don't protect the big fish. So we are one of the lead institutions in in um, looking at reef building coral species and looking at coral diseases. Just recently, there was a coral disease just popped up out of nowhere. It's like, okay, people talk about 2020 and said, what else could happen? Well, suddenly there was this coral disease that I think it was the stony coral disease. So one of our researchers, Marilyn Brandt, and a few others got a one of those quick NSF grants. I think it was either Rapid or an Eager to um, to really collect data to study that. So our and then you have climate change, and so that really impacts us. And so we are looking at new ways for small islands to to be more resilient. So we, as an institution, we're looking at what would hazard mitigation look like, mitigation and resilience. So we got a funding from FEMA, I think it was about $5 million, to look at what would that mean for us? Because what it means for us and how we go about finding out what it means will help other small insular areas like us figure out how to mitigate and climate change, how to mitigate some of these disasters that we're seeing, and how to become more resilient. Our computer science people also work with the marine science people. So we have unmanned underwater vehicles
Mm.
that will go and collect data. So it used to be, if you want to study marine science, what do you do? Well, you have to do scuba. So the computer science people are working with the marine science people on these unmanned vehicles to figure out the best path for the vehicles to take. So that is all algorithms, but then you have to plug into that ocean science research, oceanography. So they're looking at the oceanography research that's coming from our physical oceanographers, often because we're also all about the students. So we're saying we want more students involved in research, that in order to do marine science research, you have to be scuba certified. mean, we offer that at UVI, by the way. You can get scuba certified at UVI, but
Hmm.
it's we have like 3 or 4 classes in scuba, so you can go all the way from open water to research diving,
Yeah.
all here for undergraduate courses. So we have those, but for those students who might not feel comfortable swimming, or for those, some students might come in having been scuba certified, but scuba certification is kind of, you can almost look at it as a class thing, right?
Mhm.
Some people do it. Oh yeah, I went on vacation, and others. So what about those who aren't scuba certified? Are we saying they cannot do research? No,
Mhm.
we're not, because our faculty have figured out a way to have these cameras that are underwater, and they figured out kind of inexpensive ways to lengthen the battery life so that it can go for 14 hours, and it can film fish cleaning. That's one of the areas of research as well. And
Yeah.
so even those students that can't dive, they can actually watch the the recording, and they collect data that way.
Yeah, who knew all this was going on at the University of Virgin Islands? This is awesome. Um, so last couple of questions.
Mhm.
Um, a lot has been going on, as you know, with the pandemic, COVID-19, and it's hit the Black community particularly hard.
Mhm.
Just recently, a group of HBCUs just got funding to accelerate COVID-19 testing and to conduct more research on ways to mitigate this pandemic. I know that University of Virgin Islands has a big responsibility to your region, to St. Thomas, and to the Virgin Islands in general. And I know that there are likely to be some health challenges that are unique. Um,
Mhm.
and you're also in the midst of raising funding for medical school. So I wanted you to talk a little bit about the role of the University of Virgin Islands to the healthcare of the people of St. Thomas and the Virgin Islands in particular.
Again, we really take our role seriously here. So we do have a nursing program. I have to give them kudos, because our nursing program produces, they can't produce enough nurses. I mean, their nurses get scooped up as soon as they leave. They are passing the NCLEX at rates that is higher than the national average. So we have a very strong nursing program, and they do their clinicals here and they work here in our hospitals.
Yeah.
We also have Caribbean Exploratory Research Center, or CERC, which is an NIH funded center that was looking at health disparities. Now, though not COVID, but certainly health disparities that are prevalent in our communities, whether it's higher rates of diabetes. There are these conditions that plague. We're no different from many other Black communities in the U.S. in terms of diseases that hit our communities higher. So we are doing that kind of research. We have at least one of our, I guess, our chemistry faculty member who, though it's not COVID, but I guess my key here is the health disparities. So she is looking at prostate cancer and working on understanding how genetics and diet influence the progression of prostate cancer. And one of the things that she did with students this past summer is she looked at the prostate cancer research tools. And again, we always want to have our students there, and we always want to give them something to think about. So what those students found is that of the 30 most used prostate cell lines in research, only 2 originated from Black patients. So there's a lack of diversity in prostate cancer research. And so, just bring awareness of that to our students so that they know about health disparities, and so that when they choose where they want to focus their research, they can really think back on their community and make sure that that it impacts the community. We're also starting a new biomedical lab science certificate program. We hope to have our first class in 2021. And we are working to start our medical school. And at our medical school, really the impetus there was to make sure that our healthcare here in the Virgin Islands was second to none. And what we know, and this comes from our president, President Hall, we know that wherever there are medical schools, whenever hospitals are teaching hospitals, the healthcare that you get there, it it, it strengthens the type of healthcare that you get there. So our medical school is to work with the hospitals. We're still needing funding to really get that started. We have the buildings going up. We have a medical simulation center getting ready to open next this year. I think later this year, our medical school building is almost ready. We're putting as an annex to that building a biomedical research lab for the types of research that our faculty are doing. So, a lot's happening. It's always funding, right? So we want to be that fourth. You named 3 medical schools. We want to be there. We want to be that HBCU medical school, and we want it both to provide the care for people who live here, as well as push the envelopes of research that's happening in the biomedical field. So
tell me what's next for you personally, professionally. What should we be looking out for?
So my dad once said, I sent you off to school at 2.5 and you're still in school. Like I love to learn. So working with the Center for Advancement of STEM Leadership, I think that's a different kind of research for me as a mathematician. So this is more social science type of research on leadership. So I'm excited about that. I'm also excited about undergraduate education and trying to really push that and inject it with others. So I'm also working in the field of creativity. So I just recently I got a master's certificate in creativity from Buffalo State, just because the field was so fascinating. But to think about what learning about creativity can do for undergraduate students, not just in having them be more creative as students, but just more creative in traversing the higher education or traversing life. Those skills are skills for life. So that is how I intend to integrate my personal passions and my personal next with what I'm doing today.
Well, I do have a suggestion for a project for University of Virgin Islands, but if
We have a new physics program. I forgot to say that.
wow.
Not many HBCUs have a bachelor's degree in physics, and we have that with the astrophysics thing. So we're yes. So I'm ready to write it down.
Biology. Okay, this is what I want you all to work on.
Okay.
HBCU Carnival.
Done. I love it.
That would be amazing.
That would be amazing.
The only HBCU Carnival at the only HBCU in the Caribbean.
Yes, and you would have to come and be our Grand Marshal for the first one.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I'll paint it up. You won't even recognize me. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. I learned so much about what y'all have going on there, and just really wish you much success in your endeavors. Not just for you all, but for the nation, because you all are doing some outstanding work. We'll continue to watch you all. I think that the HBCU community would be better served if more people knew that you all were a part of it. So we want to do whatever we can at QEM and the mixtape series to let people know, we have HBCUs aren't just limited to the Southeast and the Mid-Atlantic region and a couple in the Midwest. We also have an HBCU that's holding it down in the Caribbean, University of Virgin Islands, St. Thomas.
Go Buccaneers.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.